everyone, I'm John Fensel, and we're here at the Gettysburg battlefield, which today is called Lower Oak Ridge. The Union soldiers who were positioned here on Oak Ridge held off repeated attacks by the Confederates of Major General Robert Rhodes's division, and in fact held on so long that they found themselves dangerously exposed as their comrades in the First Corps to the left fell back from positions along Lutheran Seminary. Ramseurs was the smallest of the 5 brigades in Rhodes's North Carolina division. His men had gained quite a bit of momentum, and they were attacking Baxter's and Paul's brigades relentlessly. A bullet had struck Gabriel Paul in the right temple and blew out both of his eyes, but believe it or not, even though it was considered a fatal injury, Gabriel Paul survived. But that's another story that we'll tell you later. Today I'd like to talk to you about the 16th Maine, because while we've all heard about the 20th Maine under Joshua Chamberlain, you probably haven't heard about the 16th Maine under Charles Tilden. The 16th Maine was initially held in reserve, but soon thrown into line here at Oak Ridge by General John Robinson to cover his division's retreat along the railroad cut. And here's the bottom line. Robinson's division was in such a dangerous situation that he willingly sacrificed one of his regiments, the 16th Maine. Robinson ordered the 16th Maine to withdraw to a new position to the east of the seminary where they had been fighting. Take that position and hold it at all costs was his command. Colonel Charles Tilden protested, but he was given no choice. Robinson was adamant, firmly telling them to hold at all costs. The order wasn't a glorious statement of resolve, it was just a sacrifice. Lieutenant Abner Small, who was the adjutant of the regiment, recorded the colonel's reaction. "You all know what that means," said Colonel Tilden, turning to us. In that same breath, he gave the commands that sent us scurrying back towards Mummasburg Road again. What it all meant to those of the 275 officers and men of the regiment who had not already become casualties was that they had to sacrifice themselves to allow 16,000 of their fellow First Corps soldiers to retreat. Now, just imagine yourself as a soldier of the 16th Maine, marching forward as the rest of the division passed you by in full retreat. You can only imagine the words exchanged with those passing you who were going in the opposite direction. Like other Union regiments, the 16th Maine carried an American flag and a regimental flag known collectively as the colors. The 16th Maine fought hard for about 3 hours in these fields right behind me, but by mid-afternoon it was evident the situation was becoming more and more untenable. With calm acceptance and quiet courage, the men of the 16th Maine carried out their orders. Facing the resurgent might of Rhodes's division, the regiment was slowly pushed back along Oak Ridge until they arrived at the unfinished railroad cut, also right behind me. Finally offered a means of protection against Rhodes's men to the north, the 16th Maine took refuge in the cut, only to discover the 2nd Confederate column bearing down on them from the west. That was Junius Daniel's brigade, which had anchored to the right of Rhodes's division. Now surrounded, the men from Maine realized that defeat was inevitable, and they resolved not to allow the regiment's colors to be captured, tearing them into pieces and distributing the scraps amongst themselves. Abner Small said after the battle, "For a few moments our little regiment defended angrily its hopeless challenge, but it was useless to fight longer. We looked at our colors and our faces burned. We must not surrender these symbols of our pride and our faith." The regiment's color bearers appealed to the colonel, Small wrote, and with his consent, they tore the flag from the staves and ripped the silk into shreds, and the officers and the men that were near each took a shred. Each man hid his fragment of flag inside his shirt or inside a pocket. The Confederates were prevented from capturing the flags as battle trophies. That was the 16th Maine's greatest day because battle flags carried very deep symbolism for Civil War soldiers, representing the esprit de corps of a regiment and even a larger entity, the country and the cause. Most of the 16th Maine survivors treasured these remnants for the rest of their lives and, in fact, bequeathed them to their descendants, some of whom still possess them as family heirlooms to this day. By sunset on July 1st, 11 officers of the 16th Maine had been killed, 62 had been wounded, and 159 soldiers had been taken prisoner, including Colonel Tilden. Only 38 men of the regiment managed to evade being captured and report for duty at the 1st Corps headquarters. Those whose retreat they had covered were able to establish a very strong position just to the east and south of the center of the town of Gettysburg, right along Cemetery Ridge. But the 16th Maine had bought precious time for the retreating Union Army and allowed it to survive. During the night and into July 2nd, the 1st and 11th Corps were reinforced by the rest of the Army of the Potomac, and for the next 2 days they would withstand successive assaults by the Confederates until the final repulse of Pickett's charge on July 3rd. So when you think about being in a difficult or even insurmountable situation, think about the men of the 16th Maine. I'm John Fenzel, here on Oak Ridge on the Gettysburg battlefield.